Hey Tyro.
Hey, Juice.
Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is Juice, as he said, and today we're doing our very first episode of our first flight sims here in the Air Warfare Group. We're going to be actually going through quite a few of the Air Warfare Group members' history. We thought we'd start with mine since I'm the oldest fart in the Air Warfare Group, the senior guy here as far as age goes. I'm definitely not senior in anywhere else, and senior and senile kind of goes together sometimes. So we're going to talk about our first flight sims. I'm going to be the first episode, and then we're going to go with Tyro. In a future episode, you'll see Prickly Hedgehog 72's videos, or his video of his slides from his gaming experience, and you'll also see Takeda, who I just contacted. He's on fire duty in California right now, but as soon as he gets time to get near his PC, we're going to put together a slideshow for him. Tyro, how's your day going?
Yes, good. It's hot here. It's like unseasonally summer, isn't it? But yeah, it's hot. It's hotter than I'm used to
Yeah, it's
for the UK.
everywhere over here. It's we've got these heat domes that are residing over Canada and the U.S. Really wreaking havoc with the wildfire season over here. I actually had to
Yeah,
cancel my Northern California trip. I actually preemptively canceled it a couple months ago. Seeing the weather and the drought and the shortage of water down there, I just knew it was going to be. If I would have planned everything, I'd probably be just getting kicked off the trail now. So I'm going to stay up
yeah.
in the Pacific Northwest where it's a little wetter. So
Good
moving
idea.
along, I started. I think when we were doing research for this, I actually thought that I did I was thinking that I had. As a matter of fact, let's go back here, and I will bring up. Well, I'll do that later, guys. But what I'll do is I'll talk about it now, and I will share with you guys later what my actual first flight simulator was. I'll share a picture in the community post. So, my first flight simulator when I was little was a die-cast metal airplane that wasn't anything fancy. It was all one color. You could see a little bit of detail for the flight control surfaces, maybe the tail and stuff like that. But it had three plastic wheels on it, and I don't even know if they rolled, but it was basically I could put it in my hand and I could fly it around. And that was my first flight simulator as a kid. And then by the time I was in late grade school, early junior high, or what sometimes is called middle school, I started flying paper airplanes, and I used to make some pretty elaborate paper airplanes. Some of the ones I used to make, actually I would take scissors and cut little flaperons and flight control surfaces in them. I would use a paper clip for weight and balance on the front, and sometimes I'd even make landing gear for the nose and two mains for the paper clip so I could land it on a hard surface like a wooden floor or a tabletop, and it would slide to a stop. It was pretty cool and everything. Did you ever do anything like that, Tyro?
Yeah, I guess I was quite lucky. My first ever flight sim was full motion sim. We had a modular climbing frame that was these like red plastic tubes interconnected with black like junctions.
Oh, wow.
Um, and we would make that into a big box and
Hmm.
build a seat into it.
Yeah.
There were no visuals. You only had your imagination and what the person who was outside of the climbing frame rolling it around on the lawn was telling you was happening. But you could go upside down in it. There wasn't a harness, so you kind of had to hold on. It's a wonder that we didn't. There's me and my brother. It's just a wonder we didn't injure each other. My first proper flight sim was probably it was probably it's probably Strike Force Harrier, but we'll talk about that
Yeah,
another time, I'm sure.
let's save that for your video that's going to be coming up here in a week or so.
Yeah.
So my first flight sim was on my Commodore 64 computer, and it was Flight Simulator 2 by Sublogic, which was eventually was purchased by Microsoft to turn into the Microsoft Flight Simulator that we have today. This simulator, its Flight Sim 1 was very crude and rudimentary. I didn't have that one. It came out in 1979. My version, I bought my computer from a friend in 1986, and this was 3 years old when I bought it, Flight Simulator 2. So this is the box art that you get. Remember we used to get these on 5 1/4 inch discs, five floppy discs,
Oh yeah,
and
old school.
yeah, and if you had dual density, you had a notch in it. You could turn the disc over and get information off the back too. And then I also had a game that came out in '85 called Jet, which was an F-18 simulator. It was pretty cool. This is what the computer looked like. You knew you were really hardcore into flight sims if you could get hooked on a little TV screen like this. And I believe my first one was monochrome. It was just green. and then I upgraded to a VGA color. I think it was 16 color max computer. And I didn't have the tape drive like you see in the lower left there, but I had the external hard drive which holds the floppies. All the processing was done in the keyboard. And I had a simple... That joystick's kind of fancy. I think I eventually got up to one of those that had the actual grip and a couple extra buttons and stuff. But my joystick, my first joystick looked like this. It was basically, it had two buttons. It had a fire button and a bomb drop button. And I don't even think these were programmable. I think they came default. You couldn't go into the software like you can in DCS today and click on your switchology choices and stuff,
Yeah, I recall my cousin having something similar. That might have been I don't think it was a Commodore 64. It was something similar. The joystick was, it was digital in the sense that it was 4 micro switches.
Could have been Amiga or Atari.
It might have been an Atari actually. I mean, they did have an Amiga, but it was before then. But yeah, sure. The digital technology back then was like you pull back, you got full back stick.
Yeah.
There was no, there was not a lot of finesse to it.
And I've overlaid all of these little sub pictures on here for the resolution for our viewers. I've overlaid them on modern DCS pictures just so they can see where we've come to after 30 years of flight sim technology development. I mean, it's approaching 40 years for me. 2006 will be 40 years since I started flying on computers and stuff.
We should have done the screenshots in real pixel size. Tiny, squinting at the tiny image.
Yeah,
the corner of the 4K monitor.
Yeah, I'm running 1440p, and it's definitely a challenge. So I think in the earlier sets we didn't have maps, and then eventually we moved up to where almost in every game I ever played the default map button was M for map, and there was only maybe sometimes it would be like F2 for map or F6 for map and stuff like that. In DCS we have F10 for map, but in the early days of the Flight Simulator 2, we didn't have a map, so I went and flew the mission so many times that I memorized the map, and I put 2 pieces of grid paper together. As a matter of fact, if you look 3/4 the way down, right above where it says Secret Factory upside down, you'll see the tape holding the 2 pieces together where I put 10 by 10, because these come in by
nice.
10 by 8 grids for regular grid paper. So I made a 10 by 10 grid. So that I could make this map the way it is and everything. It's
not 10? To scale.
Yeah, not to scale.
I hope you kept it updated so you could use it for flight planning purposes.
Oh, I still have this in a huge atlas so it doesn't get folded. And I'm gonna take it to a framing and matting shop when I get my office redone. When I finally build the wall and put my military memorabilia and artwork back up on the walls, this is going to get framed and matted really fancy, because I have really good memories about this map. This was the mission, and for those of you old enough to remember Flight Sim 2, you could fly from your side on the right side of the map over to the left side of the map, or north, south, east, or west, whichever way you were oriented. You could fly over there and do reconnaissance flight without any fighters coming up to hit you. And as soon as you dropped a bomb, or if you hit the W key and declared war, that's when the mission. That's when everything would start to go combat. You'd have to fight off. And I remember flying, and you'd have to gauge. You'd squeeze the button a few seconds before you see the crosshair go over the target, because you knew it took a while for it. And all you saw was these white dots going out at like 1 per second. We talk about FPS. This was FSP, frames. Seconds per frame is what I call it, SFP.
Were there missions, or was it just like free for all? It was just shoot down bomb as much as you can.
Yeah, it was. So what it was is you started out on this mission, you flew across in this enemy territory, but until you either dropped a bomb, as soon as you released a bomb, it declared war. And you would go over and you'd try to hit these bases, and if you want to do a sneak attack, you'd go over and bomb the base before declaring war, or if you were really gutsy, you could just hit W from your takeoff, and they would come up to meet you at the river.
Right. But the scenario was the same every time. It was,
exactly.
It was like a mission.
And there wasn't any feedback. I don't even know if there was any scoring. You couldn't go F6 and watch the bomb go into the target. There was no GBUs back then. So when we say what map, this is we didn't have a map, so we'd had to create our own map, and I still have that. So I think there was a long period of time. I did a bunch of sims like F-19 Stealth Fighter, which was before everybody had a kind of a vision of what they thought the stealth fighter looked like before it became public. There was rumors about it. There was rumors about just like the SR-71, the Aurora rumors, that we had something better than the SR-71 as far as reconnaissance and space plane. There was this, excuse me, there was this series that I went through where I had game after game after game. You may remember I went to Korea for a year in 92 to 93, and they sold digital bootleg copies of Korean games down on the local market. And I remember having a couple of F-16s that were really loud. I mean, you go, the warning would go, and it would be, I mean, people that were in the room next thought that something was going on outside the base. They thought there was an actual attack or something. And but I eventually got back into PC gaming, and I got some of the Jane sims. You've worked with the Janes before?
Hmm. Yeah. Janes were it was like the de facto information source for defense aviation knowledge
Yeah.
before
Before
you
they
know
were even computer games. And I
yeah
think they paired up with
yeah
Electronic Arts was the media company that they paired up with. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys, in the comments. But Electronic Arts and Jane's paired up. Now, remember Jane's Information Group, Jane's Defense Information
yeah
Group, come out with all of this annual. They had the Jane's annual report. Really, really quality intel out there. I mean, really professional stuff. The stuff that, like, I'm sure Wags probably worked for them back in the day, or when he was an analyst, probably worked on the same level of stuff. But this was this is the F-15C, I believe, in
yeah, it looks
Jane's.
like it, yeah, or an approximation of, yeah.
Yeah, this is in USAF Fighters, I believe. And you see I've got a situational display there. I've got my RWR and I've got my radar, and my radar's in standby mode. So that's pretty cool. I've got, I don't even think, obviously this was not a clickable cockpit. None of the switches moved even when you did the key commands. But when you went to air refuel, it automatically put your radar in standby, which was pretty cool and stuff. Here it is, outside view. And I don't even know where FA is. I know where FF is, but FA is I don't know. That's just there's a lot of, I guess there back then everybody was worried we can't put real stuff on there, we'll get in trouble. So, but at
Yeah,
least
well, we'll circle back to that later, I think, with another detail on the
oh yeah.
serial number that you've
Yeah,
mentioned.
on that F-16. So this right
Yeah.
here, and the graphics get better. This is about what the graphics were like. See there was no anti-aliasing on the lines on the wings on the tanker there, but they've got. It was pretty accurate. They've got the refueling receptacle on the right side, the correct side, the left side of the F-15.
Hmm.
So that was a little bit, you can see me coming in there, and I've got to cross under and go bring it over to that side. So this is another F-15, but this is Strike Eagle. And this was probably the one I had the most time in the Jane Sims. Flew this online and offline quite a bit. Did you?
So this would have been around, I guess, 95, 96. When did this come out?
No, this is, I think, yeah, around 95, 96. I think you're right, because I had this, I think I got it right before I went to Iceland, and that was in 97. So this would have been around 96, maybe 97. This was Strike Eagle.
Oh,
And
Google says 98. I didn't
98.
think it was that late. Yeah, 98.
Maybe I bought it while I was at Keflavik in Iceland. That might have been where I got it. I might have got it through the BX or the base exchange there and stuff. But this was pretty cool. So I didn't play, in the I think we had dial-up, and being in Iceland, I didn't know anybody that was into flight sims. But when I moved to California after that in 2000, I started getting in with milsim groups, and I actually met up with a couple guys that were just an hour up the road from me that didn't know each other. But because I'm so talkative and I get to know everybody, I found out one guy, they both lived in Oroville, California, so we all agreed to get our families together at a bar and talk flight sims one time for lunch. And so my wife and I drove up there, and I just so happened to hook up with the town sheriff, who was a flight simmer. His name was Dog 131, and the town drug dealer, who didn't know each other, but I was able to introduce them back in the days.
Yeah,
This,
I bet at least one of them appreciated that.
yeah. Well, the drug dealer introduced, he introduced himself as a pharmacist. So so this is the outside view. Now, we were talking earlier about this. Tell me what you love about this modeling. This was a step forward, wasn't it, on the outside
Yeah, I mean,
skins?
yeah, I remember F-15. E, the Strike Eagle, I think it was called Jane's Strike Eagle,
Yep.
or Jane's F-15E. It was certainly in the UK. I seem to remember it being released not long after Longbow 2,
Yes.
and the terrain was kind of similar to Longbow 2. It was
Yep.
it was a little bit of a step up, but the aircraft models and the the kind of just the attention to detail, like the camouflage pattern on the F-15 there, being period specific, and the attention to detail in the avionics as well. It was an in-depth sim. Like you had to get to understand some of the the limitations
Yeah.
and the I guess you had to know the capabilities and limitations of what it was you were employing. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a detail sim for
It
sure.
was closer to what we have today in DCS World and other sims where they have realistic flight modeling and damage modeling. However, it wasn't. We weren't totally there yet. I mean, it was
No.
you pull up and you climbed, you push down, and sometimes you'd even get red out. Your screen would turn red. I,
Yeah.
I remember. Let's see which one next one. This is from USAF Fighters. This was the slide we were
Okay.
referring
Yeah.
to. So if you look at the tail of an airplane, especially in the Air Force, I know this pretty well, and it's not, it could always be exceptions there could always be exceptions to this rule. However, you'll see that Air Force is the AF, and then that B7 is supposed to be 87. The 87 is the last two digits of the year the airframe was manufactured. And the serial number is like Air Force 8700562326, and they always take the last three digits usually and put it down as the serial number, unless they have over 1,000 airframes of that model number and stuff. So,
I think if we did the same thing, we'd have a lot of zeros.
oh yeah,
Um,
yeah,
yeah, you're in the position in the U.S. military of having sufficient numbers of aircraft to justify that sort of
yeah.
serialization.
So to go back on this, here you've got Jane's with the Strike Eagle, and then you've got this, and you can see a little bit of increase in detail. You can see now we have the gold canopy, and you can actually see some switches or some lights
Yeah.
inside the cockpit. That's me shooting the gun right there, shooting the Gal 61 or the M161, M61 A1, and shooting the 20 millimeter there, so it's got some little burp going off there. I'm in the chase view, and it even tells you the chase view. I can't remember. I mean, I don't even think we could move. I think you had to use a hat switch or the mouse to move around outside.
Yeah,
They were,
the USAF game represented, I think, because I think it came out after Jane's F-15. I think
it did. It did. I think it was about
I'll check
2 years
on
out.
Google, but
I noticed
I
there was
think
some.
it was I think it was the beginning of the end for Jane's. It was like a step up in graphics, a step down in, I don't want to say realism,
Yeah.
but a step down in detail.
It
All
started
the
to become
aircraft
more
had a HUD.
arcade-ish.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It was very narrative driven
Yeah.
missions rather than sort of historically. I mean, they're clearly based in historical context, but not, not accurate, not an accurate representation, not even really an attempt at an accurate representation of what life would have been like as
Yeah.
a phantom pilot in Vietnam, for example. And the systems in the aircraft were janky as well.
Yeah.
It was fun to play. But I think it was. I'm not sure.
Could
It
you
was a
enjoy
good
it
move for
today?
change. Probably not. I
I would
don't
I would
think.
try to reach down and lower the gear or raise the gear and get pissed off and quit. I'd be like,
Well,
why can't I change my MFD? I can't.
yeah.
I
There are
would.
some games that I would enjoy playing today that I've played in the
Yeah.
past, and I guess we'll talk about some of those when
That is one
at
neat
a
thing
later
about
date. But
Flaming Cliffs 3 and DCS is you can, most of the controls, even though it's not a fully functional cockpit, you can map some of the controls to your MFD
yeah,
screens for that, for like the F-15 and all the other stuff. So, do you remember my buddy Cabby I was telling you about, the YouTube
yeah,
pilot? And
yeah, yeah.
he's the guy that flew James and May at the edge of space
Hmm.
in the video, the little short 30-minute documentary by the BBC. If you guys haven't seen that, go check it out. James May at the edge of space. My buddy Cabby is his pilot and trains him in the chamber, takes him to the altitude chamber. But Cabby is the one that actually got me to go get my pilot's license. And we used to fly formation with our Pipers and our Cessnas together. And Cabby and I used to fly in Jane's USAF Fighters, and we would actually teach other people how to fly in formation. And back then it was a loss for most people that weren't related to aviation or related to military aviation specifically, that just didn't understand why you fly in formation. They didn't understand how you link up. That, we didn't have all the exposure that we've had post Top Gun, I guess you call it, and everything. Look at those pictures. You can tell that those are just photos that have been placed in the cockpit, in a little two-dimensional cockpit. That
it's astounding,
crude.
isn't it?
Oh, I'm cringing. Like, wait, why did they do that? So some of the neat things, though, that came up with the Jane Sims as they developed is the ability to immerse and interact with the simulator, at least with the software. As you can see here, I mean, okay, first thing you could do is you can now create your own call sign. You can see that I was on Buster's team, Buster 667 and Juice 9 VFS. Teamed up with Stouty and with WRS. And I wonder if those guys are still alive now. This was probably this is around 2001, 2002, I'd say. And then I figured out where the placeholders were for the pilot photos. You know how like a lot of games
Yeah.
you'd have a lot of the games were just civilians from Israel for like Israeli fighters and USAF. They had all these Israelis. You didn't know why they all looked like they were from the Middle East. But you basically had all these people that you didn't have the Joe Bobs and the Billy Bobs from the United States to choose from. You only had these guys that look really sharp, like Israeli sharp guys. And so I figured out where that was, and I put my picture in there to make it look pretty cool.
Nice.
This one, this is Jane's FA-18, which for me was a really dark sim. Did you find?
Yeah. I never played it. I bought it. I could not get it to run on my machine at the time.
Wasn't strong enough.
This was around I guess 2000, 2002, was it? Was it?
Yeah.
No, I'm thinking of Super Hornet. Maybe I'm thinking of Jane's Super Hornet.
It was Jane. This is Jane's FA-18 Super Hornet. As a matter of fact,
okay.
It was ahead of its time. I think the sim came out. The Super Hornet came to the fleet, I think, in 2001. The very first Rhinos came in 2001.
Yeah.
And they were developed in the 90s, but they in that airplane, for those of you who don't know, that is a total new airplane. It's not a C model or D model turned into an E or an F. It is a 25% bigger airplane, more hard stations, different upgrade. The cockpit's different. I'm sure most of you guys already know that, but for those of you that don't, go Google the differences. Just put in there F-18 versus F-18E, and whatever, C versus E. So,
yeah, that was 2000, Google says, and I think I was probably I don't know what sort of phase in my sim flying I was at, but I remember buying it. I remember being really disappointed I couldn't get it to run.
Well, you were just starting your career then too in aviation, right?
Yeah, a couple of years after was when I started my professional aviation career. Yeah, back then I would have been I'd been finishing off my my school. Yeah. But a good-looking game by all accounts. Similar in style, by the looks of it, to Jane's Fleet Command.
Yeah.
Which was a brilliant game, but not a flight sim. So out of scope.
I think the FA-18 Super Hornet was definitely a scenario and mission-based game, which was really cool. But it was, I mean, you could do a multiplayer version of it, but there was I don't know if you could. There was no editor to make multiplayer missions, so I don't know if we didn't have that, like 4 people could join the same type of mission. We could do a fight against each other or whatever. This is from Jane's USAF right here, and this is the highest rank I've ever achieved in a video game. General, 4 stars. But guess who took this picture? Cabby actually took this picture because one of the other guys that was in our area, we all met together to talk flight sims one day, and I think Cabby and I actually flew up in our aircraft up to Chico, California, or it might have been up to Oroville, and met these guys, and Cabby brought a flag and his helmet and a couple of flight suits, and we actually
that's cool.
we actually got pictures of the drug dealer and the sheriff doing in flight suits, and the drug dealer's got this big goatee beard and long hair. He's got a mullet. He's totally a trailer park boy. you know.
That must be a Navy pilot.
Yeah, and I was still on active duty at the time. I think I had this was around 2001, and I had another. I think I had another year before I retired in 2002, December 2002. So this was fun times. This is another one of my hero picks. This is a pick that I had taken over in Saudi Arabia when I went to a CSAR conference. This is a picture from 2001. No, this might have been 2002 afterwards in a green flight suit. So I've got this.
Nice.
I got this. So here we are behind the S3, it looks like, in the F-18. So this is Jane's F-18. See how dark everything is?
Yeah.
It was always overcast. I think we were in the North Sea, too. It's like, you're up there in the Baltics or in the, Black Sea and stuff. So World War II Fighters, my favorite part about that was the soundtrack to World War II Fighters. There's a little ghosting on the prop there. See that?
Oh yeah, nice. That's would have been cutting edge at the time. Yeah, no, I never played this one. Never even heard of it until you mentioned it just now.
Yeah.
Actually,
so it was Duke Ellington's "Take the A Train," except they didn't put the long intro to it. They put it in where the classic, if just the roll in, the where the "Take the A Train" picks up. That's what they put in at the beginning of the thing. It was kind of cool. And they had some. You start off in like a hangar, and there's some World War II memorabilia. You feel like you're at a period air show.
The old '90s menu structure. Everything was a photograph with you had to find your way around. You could never find the menu you wanted.
Yeah, here I am. These are all screen captures that I grabbed back in the day. So these pictures were back in the, I think, 460 by 680. What is it?
Yeah. 640 by 480.
640 by 480. This was 640 by 480 resolution. And I think then I went up to 1072 when I got, and then it was hardware dependent. You had to get a better monitor to be able to do that. And these were, remember CRTs, cathode ray tubes?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
I used to get them cheap because the Air Force was upgrading to flat screen, so I go buy them from Dermo, and then I would take them on road trips when I was going to visit people in different states. I would drop them off at people's houses so they would, because I was getting pissed off. These guys couldn't see the Bandit that I could clearly see, and they go, well, I got my monitor's too small, and I said, okay, we're going to fix that next time I come through town.
Yeah, well, if I thought I was going to get a free TV out of it, I'd definitely be telling you I couldn't see.
Yeah, knowing these guys, they probably still have those same TVs. But
yeah.
Notice I'm coming in on the carrier here, and that is not exhaust smoke. That is
bit of battle damage.
Yeah, I'll probably be waved off. Where's the barricade when you need it? So World War II fighters had the Spitfire, the Mustang. I can't remember what else you could fly in that. The P-38 Lightning was one of them. Was pretty cool.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Yeah. Here it is. Okay,
that
so
looks like Strike Eagle. Yeah.
Yeah, this is F-15 Strike Eagle. I just hosed Dog 131. He was the police officer up in Oroville.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and then this is him. This is him ejecting. Pretty crude.
Then, by today's standards, yeah.
And then if somebody made this is a Liberator, I believe, B-24.
Yeah, looks like it. Yeah.
Yeah. Your country flew these quite a bit.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, I think Coastal Command had a few B-24s, and maybe Bomber Command might have in the Far East. I'm not sure. I'm not much to my chagrin. I'm not really read into that.
Yeah.
Somebody in the comments will pipe up, I'm sure. But I know we operated B-24s, and I'm fairly sure that they were very valuable in the Battle of the Atlantic.
Yeah. I wish we could have something like this to multi-crew, like 6-7 guys get in there, and you don't need 2 side gunners. You can just have one guy be both side gunners, and you could switch stations, or allow everybody to, if there's an empty slot, they can move into that slot and take over. But that's the last slide I have, and we're saving. There's this little sound clip we're going to play at the beginning of your episode that's going to be bring back some memories that you sent me. We'll work on that.
So we'll have a little bit of a competition. See who recognises the sound. Yeah.
Yeah, you had some recommendations for comments from the viewers to share with us some stuff. It'll be more prudent or more practical in your episode because we have a lot more pictures to see in yours. And like I said, I went through and grabbed as much as I could on my computer and what I could find that I felt pertinent to my slideshow. But I didn't. You were able to go out and find a lot of information, and we put them in together in multi-slide. So you'll have to get the people to talk about that. But
yeah.
On this one, guys, if you have some comments, tell us about your first flight sim, what you liked about it. Let us know if any of the pictures in here bring back memories. I tell people all the time, if I had a candle with some aviation fuel smell to it or jet fuel smell to it, I'd be playing it and it would take me back to a time when I actually was working on the flight line and flying, or might put me in the real immersion environment like I'm actually flying a jet. So
Get some JP8 and a reed diffuser. There you go.
yeah, and get cancer too probably.
Yeah.
Would you like some chemotherapy with that? Hey, well, that's the first episode. Let us know what you think of the series. We got 3 more episodes that we are in the works of making. They'll be out. We'll spread them out a little bit along with our other content. Any news from the DCS debrief side?
Well, I mean,
Not to put you on the spot.
No, not really. I'm afraid the life's pretty busy at the moment. As you know, we've not spoken other than text here and there for the last 2
months or so,
nearly 3 months. Yeah,
busy
pretty
time.
busy. Yeah, so summer's always busy for me.
Sure.
But yeah, as soon as I get a chance, as soon as I can get back into it, then yeah, something will be rumbling down the pipeline. But it's a long-term project. It's not going anywhere. I've not abandoned it or anything, but it's having to exist inside of real-world constraints. And I have had some people pipe up in the comments and say, oh,
Sure.
if you need someone to fly with, or, if you need help, it's not help. It's not for want of input. It's just time. So just please bear with me, and I appreciate everybody watching my old the stuff that I've put out before, and hopefully they're using that as a a gateway drug to the rest of the Air Warfare Group content, which is a lot less dry and a lot more broad and interesting, I think.
Well, definitely the content that the DCS debrief provides on the channel is, I would say, polished and professional. It takes you roughly 8 to 10 hours from filming, editing, and presenting. It takes about 8 to 10 hours of work per video. And for those of you that are regular viewers at the debrief from the old channel and now at the Air Warfare Group, take time to go back and maybe rewatch a few old episodes or catch up on some that you haven't seen to get caught up on the history, because we'll eventually get to the next episode. I think we're going to be you're going to be on episode 4 of Defensive BFM, I believe.
Yeah, defensive, and then I've only got a couple more of those to do, and then we'll be into high aspect, and then we can call BFM done.
Yeah, and we're hoping
by then it'll all be out of date.
Yeah, I think we were talking earlier. This is literally our first voice call where we've been able to contact each other in 2 or 3 months, and we're hoping to do a couple little impromptu or tidbit videos like we did with the IFF and the pop-up bombing series or bombing video. Try to get in some stuff there on countermeasure programming, and we might even make some referrals to other channels that have some really good content. Stuff. We'll do that in the community tab. Well, this is Juice, guys. I'm signing off now. I hope you like the content that we're bringing up this summer. I'll be on vacation for about a month, but I'll be contacting you guys on the community tab with updates, and I'll share a link in my next video of my other channel that I'll be putting out coverage on the backpacking trail when I'm up in the Northwest, provided that I don't get kicked off for a forest fire here or there. I'm going to be over in the Pacific side of Washington State on the in the Sound, Puget Sound, the Olympic Peninsula, all the way up into the Cascades. So the area I'm going through is pretty wet, pretty moist, and or at least it's pretty, it's not as dry as the rest of the West is. So I'm hoping to go 400 miles and not get kicked off the trail. But I'll post a link for you guys to stay up to date on that if you want to follow. As always, share these videos with a friend if you think they'll like it, and keep coming back. We got more to come, and we promise to keep you guys informed and entertained. Anything else, Tyro, from the west side?
No, that's all I've got. Yeah. Thanks very much for watching.
Western Europe side, super. From the United States, good night, everybody, and have a good day. We'll see you soon.